Horizon Zero Dawn, the game known for bright colors, big open world, and giant robot dinosaurs. We all know now that Studio Guerrilla Games' Horizon Zero Dawn for the PlayStation 4 is a big hit. Many of us have sunk endless hours into playing it. I mean, I've even platinumed it. And it was even nominated for Game of the Year. But there was some skepticism about how good this game would actually be before it was released. Yeah, everyone could see it looked cool, but if this game was all show and no substance, it would just wind up being another disjointed and soon forgotten mess. But Horizon Zero Dawn didn't flop, and instead did so well that it stood above many of its competitors, even some from long-established franchises. And a lot of what made this game so unique and yet so grounded was its complex world building. World building is an incredible challenge to do correctly, but it is vital for a successful fictional world, whether that world is in a book, film, or video game. We can tell the difference of when, say, a character goes on a journey and the story randomly transitions between generic forests and towns just to mix up scenery, and then the worlds like J.R.R. Tolkien notably created, where he built things so intricately and everything was planned and had a purpose for being where it was and how it came to be. The difference is that in Tolkien's tales, the world was a character and was far from being one-dimensional. And the same is true for game design. In an open-world game, you don't want your world to feel like a random hodgepodge of settings and pretty vistas that don't enrich the story you're experiencing. Horizon delivers on good world building because the developers understood that there was more to a world than this. Their world is a complex character, and so they needed variety that was still believable and grounded. They needed logic and rules and a place that was fantastical. They needed to have details that established credibility and gave the world a depth and history that went deeper than just the superficial pretty outside. It takes a lot more effort to develop a world we believe has existed long before our journey begins, and Horizon's developers nailed it. Now for those of you who at least need a little summary of the game's concept before we delve deeper, Horizon Zero Dawn follows a young woman named Aloy, an outcast. The world she lives in is actually the planet Earth, 1,000 years after the fall of civilization, as giant robotic machines turned on the humans that created them and destroyed most of the life on the planet. Aloy sets out to discover what exactly happened that led to this apocalypse, as well as to protect the current people of the world from a rising threat. The narrative presented in the game was far deeper than most people expected, and while it's not completely unique, it helped give the game focus, direction, and helped establish a much deeper world mythos. On a purely visual note, even from the opening moments of the game, you can see that Horizon Zero Dawn is gorgeous. Everything is vibrant, almost too beautiful to be real. The developers said that they try to make it look more like a nature documentary, and that beautiful look never fades for a moment, whether you're walking around the world at night, or you're in the middle of a blinding desert, or you're stumbling across ancient ruins that have been reclaimed by nature. The development team really tried their hardest to make almost every moment in this game visually stunning by providing plenty of variety and contrast. The beauty never grew mundane throughout my journey. I found myself constantly stopping my progress to record footage for this video just to show you guys the next great thing I stumbled across. But despite it being so beautiful, the world of Horizon Zero Dawn is also very dangerous. This is a post-apocalyptic world, and you never really get to the point where the world stops being a threat. You're never completely overpowered, despite visibly growing stronger and also improving your skill as a gamer as your journey progresses. For example, you don't automatically regenerate health once you finish a battle, so you can't abuse the system in an unrealistic sort of way as you can in many other modern games. Damage you take from an enemy or from a fall stays with you. If you want to stock up on your health again, you're going to have to take the time to scavenge. Medicinal plants are scattered throughout the world, some more common in different climates than others, and each only fills a certain amount of your health. This gave every mistake in the game a consequence. Every time I let myself be hit, I had to spend more time finding plants to heal myself. The whole world may be dangerous, but I also had to rely on that land to sustain me and keep me going. This is something that's surprisingly uncommon in a lot of open world games, and I assumed that developers don't want a player to become frustrated and stop exploring. But adding that accessibility takes away from a game's relatability of both the protagonist and the world. Aloy, on the other hand, isn't a superhero. Even as she grows, she's still human, and she must take the time needed to be well-equipped and prepared to fight to survive in such a savage world. This really helps the game feel a lot more grounded. As for the actual details of this world, one of the first things you'll discover are Horizon's people. In a lot of games, different towns don't feel that distinct from one another. They're generally filled with the same kinds of people saying the same kinds of things. In Horizon, townspeople are far from the usual generic NPCs who spout, the same 3 lines of dialogue no matter where you go. But depending on where you are in the world, people have different types of governments, societal structures, prejudices, etc. And all of these unique characteristics make sense based on where they are located in the world. The first tribe we become acquainted with in the game are the Nora, the tribe that Aloy was born into and also cast out of. The Nora live in a cold and often snowy mountain range, and these mountains keep them isolated from most of the other tribes in the world. Their land contains some important ruins of the Old Ones, which is what they call the people from before the fall of civilization, so they consider their lands to be the sacred lands, and they believe that life originated from these ruins. The Nora are proud of their heritage, but they also fear the old technology that they don't understand. Their homes, clothes, and weapons feel more primitive than the other tribes because of this. They're also matriarchal, tight-knit, and collectivist. While the Nora live scattered about their land in many different little settlements, their primary importance is on the tribe as a whole. In fact, the Nora are so tribe-centered that the worst form of punishment they have is to make someone an outcast. For the Nora, the group comes before the individual. On the other hand, you have the great city of Meridian, where the Karja tribe and the Sun King live. Meridian is also connected to important ruins of the old world, but is located in a far different part of the map than where the Nora live. It's in a very open part of the world. There isn't a mountain range to protect the Karja people as there is for the Nora. On one side, Meridian lies just outside of a blistering desert. On the other, it's in the middle of a treacherous forest. To protect themselves, the Karja couldn't sprawl out over several small settlements as the Nora did, but rather they gathered closer together, and they built the city of Meridian up to be tall, intimidating, and proud. With so many people being packed in together, Meridian became a central power in the world with wide influence. There's a vast economic system present in this city, but with that comes a stronger class system, and it's far more individualistic than Nora settlements. The rich live in the highest parts of the city and own spacious homes. The poor, on the other hand, work the fields outside of Meridian's walls in best protection. The walls of Meridian also show that this is a place more vulnerable to attack, but the Karja are very well equipped for battle. Guards are at posts at every corner. And there's also the Hunter's Lodge in the heart of the city, where those who dedicate their lives to taking out the most dangerous machines gather. They also just generally have more advanced weaponry. While the Nora are also accustomed to battle, they're more prepared to take on machines. Meanwhile, the Karja are prepared not just to fight machines, but also to fight other people. They are conquerors and defenders, and they actually see the Nora as just savages. They put more emphasis on men, power, and the individual. These two tribes could not be more different, but they aren't just different due to arbitrary choices made by the developers. Every part of their culture makes sense in relation to the in-world factors that built their societies. There's also not just one tribe that's good and one that's bad. The Nora, Karja, and other tribes all have positive and negative aspects to them, and that's a lot like our world. No one culture or people group is perfect. This develops a lot of detail and credibility. This world is like ours, and its people are like us, even though we can clearly see it's far more fantastical than anything we'd ever see on this planet. The machines of Horizon Zero Dawn are also equally complex and believable in their animal-like behaviors. They feel wild and unpredictable, and yet once again, familiar. They remind us of things we've seen in real nature. This isn't a world just filled with rogue machines haphazardly placed on a map that prey upon men. Rather, these machines belong to a complex ecosystem and have different relationships with one another. For example, Watchers are small and weak, and so often you will see them working as patrols for stronger and larger types of machines. If they see you, they'll alert the others. And if you're spotted, some machines, like the deer-like grazers, will take off running in the opposite direction, trying to get out of sight behind some hills or trees. But the vicious snap maw, on the other hand, will head directly towards you, slinking through the water, shooting long-distance ice attacks, and aggressively leaping towards you when they try to get close. We see similarities to creatures we know and understand, and we can project that familiarity onto them despite being, well, sometimes a giant giraffe dino sort of thing with a disc head. This allows for a truly unique level of creativity, but without having the world feel cold and unrelatable. I could go on and on about so many different details this game contains that further explore the balance between the fantastical and the familiar. But the point of bringing all this up is to remind us that when building a fictional world, the world itself is a character. And there's a lot that goes into building a world. Just like you want your protagonist to be likable and believable, so should your world also be. We need to connect and understand the people and cultures and creatures. We need to be able to relate. The world must have flaws, but it also must have something special that draws us in, that makes us want to explore and discover more. Horizon's world is successful not just because it's beautiful or unique, but because of how the world works together. The land informs the tribes, which informs their towns, which informs their societies. Machines work together in different ways depending on where you are in the world. This is a place with history, long history, and with secrets, and with dangers, and it's rewarding. As Aloy, you have fought for survival. You've explored the corners of the map, and you've taken on a complex and wild adversary, and you were victorious. And this world is all the more memorable for it. So now, I have a question for you. What is your favorite video game world and why? There are a lot of really good ones out there, so I'm curious to know what you think. Thanks for watching and hope you have a lovely day.